Welcome, everyone, to Awesome Truth, a wrestling book club. I'm your host, Steve Semino, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Walt Schwenk. Hey, Walters.
Hello, Steven. How's it going?
My friend, it is going fairly well. We are back on Awesome Truth, and today, Walt, we are talking about a show that makes me say fairly instead of very well because it's not very good, although opinions may vary. That's why we have Awesome Truth, is we can hash it all out in the public forum of ideas and conversation. Of course, you know from the name of this episode that we're talking about the ESPN Plus series, Stephanie's Places. Well, why do we decide to watch Stephanie's Places finally after much deliberation on our end?
Um,
Because we
well,
had to is an answer if you want to use that.
that
Because
is
it's
fine.
content.
That is an answer. Also, you should note this is 2026 Hall of Fame class, Stephanie McMahon.
That's right. That's why we somehow knew. We were the only ones who knew. She was surprised. Everyone was surprised, but you and I somehow sync this up perfectly.
Yeah, and they came out with a shirt recently, and on the back, when they list all of her accolades, one of them is host of Stephanie's Places.
Oh my
So,
God. You sent me that and I didn't click on it and inspect it in detail. Jesus.
yeah, because her in-ring accolades are only so limited. But this was a series that I saw somewhere, whether it's like online or a promo, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I originally thought it was like a Stephanie McMahon hosted travel log, which when we
Which the
this
title would indicate as such. So I understand why you'd think that.
and the intro graphics are like map focused and all that. So I'm just like, oh my god, this is I spent 7 years of my life watching travel logs for my job, working at Travel Channel. So I've seen every iteration of this kind of series,
Yeah,
good,
your
bad,
life
and
was building to
otherwise.
this moment, to a WWE themed travel show, which I'm sure you pitched at some point when you worked there, right?
Sure did, just not with Stephanie McMahon. But I think it's so maybe I misunderstood or misread it because it's not a travel log at all. It has nothing to do with places. It barely has anything to do with places. So, all
And
right,
you
let's
know,
just start with that.
I've only seen one episode. I will admit that. You have seen two episodes. Is that correct?
3 episodes.
Three. So you can vouch for sure that it's not about places because episode one is, of course, with the infamous Phil Brooks. And the place, if you could even call it that, is she goes to Cleveland for SummerSlam last year to talk to him. Is that right?
Yeah, well, when you watch the first episode, she eventually gets to a place that is called Cleveland, Ohio, to talk to Phil Brooks, who is eventually her like subject or interviewee for the episode because every episode is centered around a WWE superstar. I guess the format is we talk about their career and a retrospective and who they are, what motivates them. But the first episode, they do a lot of like bricklaying the foundation of like, what is WWE? Who is Stephanie McMahon? What is the show? Why are we following Stephanie? And there's just so much like context that they add just to get you to, oh, by the way, today I'm talking to Phil Brooks to talk about, and the theme of the episode is like wrestling comebacks.
Yes.
So
It's very busy for 25 minutes of story. Yeah, there's a ton going on. I guess she also, you could argue another place in that first episode is she goes to the new HQ they're building in Stanford and it's like, wow, what a great place. Like, whoa, so cool. Big Andre, we've all seen the Big Andre now. Like, so I guess that also counts, but it's not really clear why the word places is in the title. It doesn't, I don't care whether she goes to a place or not, but if you put in the title, like you said, I'm going to assume it's about literal, places they go. And so when they're not, that is confusing.
yeah, I mean, it's mostly about people, not about places.
Yeah.
The
Why
place is
isn't it
such a
Stephanie's?
background.
Why isn't it Stephanie's people or something like that? Like, why is that not a title?
Why is it called Stephanie's Places?
I have no idea. Perhaps someone has dissected this yet, but if you watch three episodes and you don't know, then I'm gonna assume it's murky to perhaps all at this
Like,
point.
does everybody know when you say the words like is Stephanie McMahon the only famous Stephanie in the sports entertainment, sports world, the world?
Probably not. Although I am struggling to think of other big Stephanies at this point. Do you have any off your head? I'm going to Google while you're talking and see famous Stephanies. Stephanie Vacher works for Vacher. We didn't we fuck up her name last time. She works for the WWE now. She's a relatively famous new Stephanie. Stephanie Beatrice, the woman from Encanto and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is named Stephanie.
Oh right, yeah.
That might honestly. There's not many other ones to be honest. I'm looking right now.
Stephanie Stephanie Tanner.
Yeah, a fictional
Uh,
character, but sure.
but a famous
Yeah,
Stephanie.
honestly,
What's
she's probably in the top five, which is wild, and I would not have thought that until I looked it up. But there's just not a ton on here.
yeah, so maybe she is the most famous Stephanie in the
She's
world.
she's on the list, you know.
In which case, then like we sure as shit did a lot of laying the groundwork for who she like the first 4 minutes is like who is Stephanie McMahon and why is she but like it just comes back to that like fundamental um or existential crisis. Like you have a wrestling show, how much do you cater to an audience that doesn't understand wrestling? Because like it seems like with Omaha Productions and Peyton Manning made a decision, they're like, hey, you need to spend the first 7 minutes explaining what wrestling is, who the fuck you are, and why what you're doing and why this is relevant. And then we'll talk about like CM Punk.
Yeah, we must. We absolutely must. Like I said, 1,000 shows have done documentaries and all have done before that. We must explain the concept of wrestling before we even dare to say anything interesting. I would love to know, and maybe this is also information that's out there, but it's not readily apparent. This show apparently released in March. They obviously just made the ESPN deal recently. So why did this air on? This must have been a separate deal. Like they must have. I like you said, Peyton Manning must just be. They must just be developing stuff and then selling it. I don't know why I sell. Like they must literally just be selling it to bidders. And there must have been a conversation like we have this Stephanie show. Who wants it? And ESPN bought it from them, right?
I mean, I guess they're just in the Peyton Manning business, and whatever the
That's
hell Peyton
true.
Manning sells them, they'll just say yes to.
Yes, that's true. Honestly, that's as good a reason as any. Like, let's go, let's get some stuff. Peyton's pitching it. Like, let's keep Peyton happy. Let's keep WWE happy in case there's a deal, in a few months. So maybe that's the sort of thing. It's like, why not give them a couple bucks for Stephanie's show if it opens the conversation to more shows down the line?
I mean, ESPN is certainly in the TKO family,
Hmm.
just with, I mean, just with direct UFC alone. So,
Yeah.
like, why
So,
not? Why not take a flyer on a 7 episode order of Stephanie's Places,
and
right? I
obviously,
mean,
there's we don't even talk about these anymore. There's WWE content all over A&E now. So like, this is just one of many, many, many WWE documentary shows that is has been on the air recently. Like it's to the point, Walt, that we don't even cover them all anymore because it's too exhausting, and I
yeah.
just don't care. And the only reason, like I said, we're doing this is because it's new, and we honestly haven't talked about Stephanie very much. So it's a good chance to, I guess, do that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's honestly there is no real like it's not like we're ever gonna do a Stephanie McMahon watch along and
Yeah.
um
Though we could do Stephanie month if you wanted to. Do you want to do Stephanie month?
starting right now. Stephanie
Yeah.
Steph Denver.
Yeah, that's right. Except we'll miss it. Now we're going to go into October. So we'll sort of fuck that up. But that
Back
would
to
have been an
Macho Month, I
idea. But
guess. um so, so there's so many different ways to go with this. Let's talk about the episode first. Then
yes.
we'll talk about Stephanie because I feel like there's still a lot to be talked about with this show.
Yep.
Quote unquote, you can't see my air quotes show. Thoughts
I
on
mean,
episode
I
one?
like whatever. It's harmless, I guess. Like I don't have any real gripe against it. Like I don't even think Stephanie is like a bad interviewer or a bad like she's obviously very like she's not good. Like it's all puff piece bullshit. But like I don't find her nearly as like of all the McMahons, I honestly might like her the most of anybody at this point. I think she might be my favorite McMahon, which is a very low bar to clear. Don't get me wrong. Like but and maybe this is just perception. Like there's no way of me knowing this, but I will also say that the things I've read do sort of lend credence to this, and I might be getting in the weeds with this, so apologies. But it seems like she might be the one who is like, you know, Vince, get the fuck out of here. Like I'm sort of I'm carving my own path, which is obviously not really the case because she still works or involved with WWE very
Right.
closely. But like, it seems like she is sort of like I'm doing my thing, and like it seems like with the whole power struggle with Vince that it seems to have happened in the last couple years, that she like to some extent perhaps took a stand against her father in some way. Again, speculation. I don't know that, that was sort of the implication that was given, and maybe you feel the same way. But I guess regardless of that, I just don't find her. I find her to be very sort of lukewarm, which, like I said, for McMahon's, I think is perhaps as good as it can get at this point.
I assumed watching this show, like, because like Stephanie's put herself with the authority. There was an error, and maybe this is part of Vince's booking, so like it's hard to tell where her, you know, thought of herself and her own self view ends, and where like Vince is like, you're gonna go out there and be smarmy and say this, but like she always would get the one up, even in situations where like she probably shouldn't be getting the glow. She always had like a comeback prepared in a way that really didn't progress the storyline, just made her look cooler.
Mm-hmm.
So that was her on air, like late, like with the authority run. So I just didn't know what kind of host she would be. Is she someone like a Stone Cold who just like, just repeats the same stories and like has a comfort zone, or
Yeah.
or is it like, how engaging was she going to be? And honestly, she was less offensive than I thought she would be because of the aforementioned on air like persona that she's kind of
Where
developed.
she was like baby female Vince for so long, that was sort of the thing.
Yeah, just like, you know, I, I don't even know how to describe it. It is just this air of I'm better than you and I'm above everything, and you just don't know if that's like, to your point, like it does sound like that's not the kind of person she is, but like you don't really know. And so but again, a host is a different thing than being an on-air talent for in a wrestling setting. And so, I thought she was fine. She kind of let the people talk and she asked the right questions, and I guess people like her, or they act like they like her because they have to like her, I guess. I don't know. She didn't seem too campy or too lame. She seemed approachable. She seemed comfortable, but ultimately she was kind of like net neutral. Like she wasn't like a great host. She just wasn't a terrible host. So I guess
Yeah.
take that for what it's
She
worth.
was, she's very sort of milk toast. But I mean, at this point, like I said, either she's faking it really well, which based on her, performances as part of the show, I never took her to be that good of an actress or a performer. So, or she like maybe sort of does seem like she is like, I'm happy stepping back and being a mom and being, just contributing where I can, and I believe that to a certain extent. I believe that, like, and I believe this is the format that probably suits her best, is like pleasant host person, as opposed to character on the show where everyone sort of grew up hating her, and like certainly the misogyny of the 90s and the early 2000s made it very easy for people to hate her, and the whole gimmick was this girl sucks. Chris Jericho was calling her a hoe bag or whatever. Like that was really the Stephanie thing for quite a long time. So maybe just like, but I think maybe that was just a weird Vince power trip family thing, and like I just think maybe this is what she was born to do, is lightly interview people who work for the company her family created. Like that just might be her lane at this point. And it's like you said, I think it's a perfectly acceptable lane for her to be in.
Do we think that when she shows up to the office, people are genuinely happy and excited, or is that a like was that a scene?
I don't know. Like I based on like limited knowledge, but I did get the vibe that she was one of the people, even though she did sometimes take public credit for stuff like, the women's revolution, like she'd come out there and be like, I'm fighting for this. But I did also get the vibe from things I'd consumed that behind the scenes she was also actually fighting for it, and that even if she would sort of, and maybe in her own McMahon style way, she was like, if I go on TV and talk about it, that's the best way to get it over and make it real. But then also it is easily perceived as taking credit for the good female performers you're suddenly hiring and developing, who are getting over on their own and they don't need your help. But maybe she was like, but she would argue, well, how else if you don't have my help, whose help are you going to have? So anyway, the long story short, I always got the sense that she was actively trying to improve things, and was not. And at a certain point, I remember there was a story back in the day. I'm sure you might remember this too. It was on some podcast, or maybe I read it somewhere. I don't know, but it was someone was in the car with Vince and Stephanie and H, and they said that Vince and Stephanie were like on the phone doing business shit, like cackling like mad people, and H was sitting there looking out the window, looking like, what have I gotten myself into? And the guy who told the story was like, and I felt bad for H. And the implication being that Stephanie was just little Vince and was, and obviously Shane had sort of gone off at that point, and Stephanie was the heir apparent. And I think that was the implication for a while, in a lot of ways, publicly and otherwise, that Stephanie was going to take over with H or whatever, and sort of was becoming that like Vince Jr. But I think, she seems to make a concentrated effort to not be that anymore. And, like I said, is that manufactured? I'm sure to some extent. But I've just gotten, I don't think anything about her gives off that vibe anymore, which is good. I mean, no one should want to be baby Vince at this point, but I do think
No,
she's trying to step away from that, and it seems like this is another step in that direction. Do you know that story? Is that a
I believe
story
you're
you're?
referencing Ring of Hell. I think that was a story cited in Ring of
Is it
Hell.
really interesting?
I
Okay,
think so. I mean, if my
fascinating.
memory serves me correctly.
You've
Uh,
got a good memory for that kind of thing, so I believe it.
I don't think it was a podcast at the very least. I
Okay,
feel like I've read that story, but
okay,
uh, fact check me,
yeah.
internet.
Well, someone
Um,
someone will.
yeah. Does the receptionist, as the head of marketing, are they happy to see? Because like what you're describing almost sounds like from the performers, the female, but like that scene of her walking back to the HQ, it's like there's just like these nameless like receptionists and corporate people welcoming her, and like it's like the Stephanie hug machine. It's like everybody gets a fucking hug. It's like, are those people happy to see her genuinely, or is that like, I don't know.
As I think we've
That's
said
what
on the
we're
show
really talking
before,
about.
and as other people have said, if it's on the show, it's a work, So I guess I do tend to probably think they were not spontaneously
Yeah,
leaping out of their chairs. I'm sure they knew a camera crew was coming, So that part is
yeah.
probably not exactly 100% real.
Put your hugging boots on. It's time to go to work for Stephanie's hugs.
But yeah, we detoured into I detoured us into a conversation on Stephanie the person too. But the concept of the show is just very light, It's very sort of it just does not it seems like puff pieces. It seems like, and again, you can speak to this a little more, I guess, having seen 2 episodes. I didn't get the sense that there was any hard-hitting internal journalism going on. Is that correct?
no, definitely not. I mean, I feel like, so the second episode is Cody. The place is, of course, we have to name
Do
the
they
place.
talk about AEW? Do they mention it by name?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do they
They talk
say
about
Cody went away to the Indies or whatever?
yeah, and they show like Evolve clips, maybe some RA. I can't
Okay.
remember,
Stuff
but
they
it was
own or
definitely
they might be able
Evolve.
to use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so the place is center stage in Atlanta, where I guess the old WCW show used to
Saturday
broadcast
night. Yeah.
and film. Yeah, before they moved to Disney, MGM a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In like the
And
80s and 90s, I think. Correct?
yeah, correct. And so they did the whole interview there, and
Did
they
they like
just,
walk around? Was Cody like, whoa, Dusty was here. Holy shit.
it's not real. I mean,
Okay.
he was taking her around, being like, I used to sit in this section,
Okay.
in the seat, and then Dusty would do this, and like some of the stories were fun, I guess. I mean, a lot of it is the same tried and true, like Cody story. Like I was Dusty's son. We're sad we lost him. I became Stardust. I'm bitter as fuck. I'm back, and I'm great.
Okay.
That was the episode effectively, and it's
Okay.
fine. I mean, there's some parallels they draw with being a child of pro wrestling, but they don't really go into detail about Stephanie being a child of wrestling.
Sure, because we don't want to mention who she's the child of at this point in time. Some
Yeah.
guy,
So
name redacted.
yeah. And then the third episode I watched, I barely watched, but it was like on in the background, was with Rhea Ripley at the Performance Center. So the place is Florida with the Performance Center. And the person is Rhea Ripley. We talked the same Rhea Ripley story that we probably all, at this point, have also probably seen and heard of this
Yeah,
a
because we
lot.
just watched Rhea tell that story on another doc, right?
Unreal, yeah.
Yeah, on Unreal. Ugh. Okay. Well, that's not. I mean, I like Rhea, but I don't need to hear her story a
Yeah, I
hundred
mean,
times.
look, I mean, the positives, the one positive I'll say is like they have access to the archives and all these people's like pretty much their entire IP. Like
And
Rhea
she's
Ripley,
someone they've developed from the ground up entirely. So it's like that is, that is impressive. Like she's the leaps she's made over the course of the last like whatever 5 6 years are crazy.
yeah, and so it's easy for them to tell that story and do it well. But like, it's just an interview show with more B-roll.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking. Like the difference between this and like the Broken Skull sessions is like not much difference, except there's more interactivity. There's more like every episode, Stephanie gets a gift for some reason. It's like here's a cool thing that I made
From
for you.
from
It's like,
the from the guest.
yeah, like the
Oh,
second and third episode, she got like a Rhodes type lifting belt,
okay.
and then the Rhea Ripley gave her like a leather jacket,
Okay.
like
Shouldn't she
in
shouldn't
the
she
style of Rhea Ripley.
shouldn't she be giving them gifts? Like they work for her. Or they don't work for her anymore, but like she's the rich, adult and they're I guess Cody's probably not that much younger, but still, you know what I mean? Like I feel like this should be the reverse. She should give them a cool gift.
That's a great.
Yeah. Like Rhea's doing okay. I'm sure Rhea still probably makes like 500 grand a year, Like it's not that's not nothing to sneeze at, but like it's not she's not
But
a millionaire.
if I was to guess, I would assume Omaha Productions budgeted
You
for
think you think Peyton helped out a little bit, kicked in?
there's a production line item for Stephanie gift in
That's
every episode. And
I
it's
hope
like upwards
so.
of $5,000.
That's good. And they give it to them 5 minutes before they do the thing. Like here, and then fake give this to Stephanie.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I was producing the show, which I don't know, what do I want to? Is that a
I would say
dream?
we
Is that a
pray
nightmare?
someday you will be producing it.
Yeah, then we'll have to redact this entire episode. But so anyway, again, like I feel like there's not a whole lot to say about the show outside of what we have, which is similar storytelling device, new host, new subjects, I guess, but not really. Most of them are the same subjects, like CM Punk.
Well, we can certainly talk about legendary pissy baby Phil Brooks, though. I mean, the star of episode one. They open the show with a exclusive CM Punk interview. So I mean, well, my God, like, can you imagine CM Punk talking? Have we ever heard such a thing?
Yeah, and they have an honest conversation about when he left and what he said, and then she took shots at him. And it's okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like great. This is whatever. Like, it's it's such well trod territory. And like, I'll come out and say it right now. I've been very vocal on this show, calling Seth Rollins a pissy baby, saying how tired I am of his shtick and just how unsatisfying I find it. I'm so done with CM Punk. Like, I'm glad he's getting a check. I guess it's great that AJ came back. Like, she seems great. What a cool wife he has. Like, I could not care less. Like, I am also so tired of seeing the pipe bomb. I would rather hear about the screw job at this point than the pipe bomb. Like, is just so it's he gave an interview on TV and sort of said some stuff that sort of like said John Cena stinks and Vince is lame. And like we're still talking about it 13 years later. Like, get the fuck over it. Who cares? Like, it is not that big of a deal. It's amazing that he still cashes out on this thing. I know he's done other good things, but the fact that this is still the first thing that everybody talks about is just like I find it so gross that this is like that people like this is like regarded as this industry changing moment. Like, I really do not think so. For
I
him,
mean, that
it's a life
shows you
changing moment
how.
for Phil Brooks. But like, should I still give a shit about this right now? Like, no, I don't see how I should.
I mean, it was a it made the guy's career for sure. Because
It
before he was
did.
in like the
Like I said,
bizarro
for
nexus, like who gives a shit?
yeah. I do agree that in the like for him, I understand why CM Punk would be like, man, thank God I did that. Like now I have lots of money and success. Like like it was
Right.
great for him. But I'm just so tired of pretending. Like I would much rather talk about the Money in the Bank match that we reviewed on this very show, awesometruth.libsyn.com, and watched along. That's why I like CM Punk. Like that good match that he had to culminate the story. Like I don't care about the interview. Like I care about I care, or at least I care about it in the context of he gave a important interview a long time ago. Like I just don't. I just it's so annoying to like. There's nothing else to say about it. Like there really isn't. There's no layers. There's no depth. Like he was the first one to do it in the way he did it. And like that's neat. But that's about all I have to say. That's all. That's about the amount I can care about it right now in 2025.
Yeah, I mean that audience was so starved for anything of any level of interesting back in 2000, what, 12, 11 or whatever.
Yeah,
Like when he did that, it's like that was such a dark,
that's
dark
true.
abyss of content for that company back then.
That's fair. It was I guess a desert of where everyone was truly dying, and then there's this oasis appeared of CM Punk sitting cross-legged talking for 10 minutes, and it just in that sense it did change everything.
Right. Which is why Daniel Bryan was, I mean, Daniel Bryan was great, but also like it's also kind of a reflection of like that audience just wanted anything interesting to care about that wasn't like John Cena or The Miz or like Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I do agree with your sentiment that it's now become like a little bit, oh, not a little bit. It's definitely overkill with regards to like us talking about it. They're very reminiscent of another uh, wrestling trope that I bitch about a lot. So you know, I think we're hitting that point where the pipe bomb is now becoming a little bit like like just overplayed, and even out of context, it kind of loses all meaning. You're right. It's like this guy took a giant shit on John Laurinaitis,
Yeah.
and but like we forget like everything else about that moment, and that situation he was in, and even like just like the fact that he broke kayfabe on a promo on Raw. It's like it's actually not a good thing. Like out of
And
context,
it's like
but
any it's not yeah. Anyway, I don't want to harp on it too much because my biggest issue with it is probably that in the context of now watching CM Punk give these interviews and do his Saudi Arabia apology and just become like a team player for better or worse. I would say worse from our perspective, better from his perspective because he gets a nice big paycheck every month. But it's just the fact that like now CM Punk is not the voice of the voiceless at all. He is just a guy on the wrestling show. So I think it neuters that even more because look where he slotted in at the end of the day. Like he's giving this interview to Stephanie and they're talking about, oh man, 13 years ago you did this and I did that. Where are we in 2025 right now? Everyone's a good soldier. Everyone's playing along. So it's like it's just we're not watching a pirate. We're not watching a renegade. We're not watching a badass. We're watching a wrestling performer on the wrestling show do his job. So I think like if that's what he wants to be, I think I've said this on previous episodes. That's fine by me. But it's just to act like this moment was so powerful and important. Like I said, it's only important for Phil Brooks's career. It's only important that it got him to a level of fame where now he gets to kick back and relax and be a star on WWE. Like that's the importance level. And to me, it's amplified by showing him just giving a polite little chat with Stephanie on the new ESPN Plus Stephanie show.
yeah, I mean this is just a nostalgia act that we're
Yeah, it really is. It's a very like modern, honestly, like up to date nostalgia act.
yeah, because this version of it is far less interesting. But
Yeah. And he'll be
uh,
coming out, like we're still running through Attitude Era, Taker and Rock and everybody coming out at Manias in 5 to 10 years. Guess whose music's gonna be hitting during main events to interfere and go to sleep somebody? Phil's gonna be coming out. Like we're pretty much at that point already. Like he's having a fine run right now. Like he's a useful cog in the machine, but like you said, it's like we're coming to the tail end, and he's just going to become another guy who interferes and shows up and shakes hands and waves, and like that's just what it's going to be.
yeah, and I'm glad we've documented it all in Stephanie's places.
Well, here's to
For
loop back to Stephanie. Do you think, and this is a very like subjective question, do you think Stephanie belongs in the Hall of Fame?
I think so. I mean, yeah. Actually, that's a good question. I mean, she's an important figure in the sense that she has spanned multiple generations and eras, and she's still with the company too. I don't know. That's kind of a lazy answer, I guess. But
Well, it's also it's like what I feel whenever they put like an owner in the Hall of Fame for the NFL, and it's like I know some owners do good things and like change how being in charge is run and expand horizons and make the league get more modern and fun. Like it's certainly it's a thing you can do, but it is also funny to me that I'm like their reward is owning the team. Their reward isn't. It's just weird to put them in the Hall of Fame. Like they have lots of money
yeah.
and their reward is they get to own the football squad. Like it's just funny to put Stephanie there. Like, are we putting her in as a performer or are we putting her in as like a character or both or all? Like I don't know. It's just a funny one to like. She's in that weird spot, like where like does Shane get to go in too? Like when does Shane get to go in? Like, is he less
Well,
important? Like,
Shane was an active performer for a lot longer than
yeah,
Stephanie,
does
for
Shane
sure.
deserve it more then because he was such a more impactful performer, even though he was certainly less involved behind the scenes? Like how much do we? It's a funny question about how the Hall of Fame functions anyway, which is it's a very nebulous, strange sort of thing in the first place.
I mean, with that authority run, she was an on-screen figure for much of that. She has competed and won titles.
And she was in the Mania match with Ronda. Is that right?
Yeah, she was.
So that was a big match, a match that everybody liked too. So I mean,
It's
that's
Ronda's
probably
best
the
match, probably.
that's probably the peak of her wrestling career, right?
I'd say so.
In Mania,
Um,
before we all turned on Ronda and realized how much we dislike her, we all got to have a pure night out with Ronda.
yeah, I think so. But then if you look at the T-shirt, it's like, oh, host of Stephanie's Places. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, that thing just happened. Doesn't make her a WWE Hall of
We
Fame.
don't even know that it's going to last beyond 10 episodes. Like, what if it goes away? Then no one's going to remember it. And that's going to look, not that the shirt doesn't suck already, but it's going to be a
Sure.
very funny shirt if that show just disappears and, and never ever returns. So
Right.
it'll be a very time and place style shirt.
What was Stephanie's finisher, real quick?
I don't know. Do you know? I assume she did the
Pedigree?
pedigree. I assume it must have been the pedigree at a certain point. Like, if it wasn't at the top, by the time she, was like I'm sure by the Ronda, but by the time she was doing that match, I'm sure she was at least going for the pedigree as a. I wonder how many matches Stephanie won since like 2010. Like probably like zero.
Oh, definitely zero.
I'm sure she faced the belt. Well, I'm sure she faced Abella at some point. Like I'm sure she the Ronda match. Like I'm sure there's a couple I'm not really thinking of. But yeah, I just don't recall her getting a lot of W's and using a finisher.
I mean, like, she won the title. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, me
anything at
neither.
all.
No, it's not something we really think about, which is why it's just funny that to give her that spot. But obviously, as a character in the broadest sense of the word, which is means both performer on show and person is daughter of owner of company. Like she is obviously very impactful. So, and like I said, I do think that she was one of the voices that publicly did try and push WWE forward. And like I give way more credit to the actual wrestlers in the ring, but she was objectively she was right that it was time to start featuring these women more. And look where we are now. Like they're a huge part of the show in almost every way. Like so I she gets some credit for that. Like we'll give her a piece of the pie, probably a pretty small piece of the pie, but I do believe that she's been a woman in a very man dominated industry for her entire life, and so I guess that's really the final thought I have on the show is she probably has so many better stories than we'll ever hear. Like I can't imagine some of the things she's seen and done and participated in, and it would be great to one day hear some of them, and I think we never ever will. I think this is the closest we'll get, and this is so far from that kind of a storytelling type experience.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. It's like, yeah, like the stories that this person could tell will never make it to Stephanie's Places.
About the Macho Man, perhaps we'll never hear any stories like that.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ. But she played in Andre's cast,
She
which
did.
I guess is a fun anecdote.
Which is, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, you're telling me the most sanitized versions of these things, and like these guys, like especially back then, were just like total like shitbags, you know? Like they were, so many of them
Yeah.
were just like drug-addled monsters. Like, which is terrifying and probably not very fun, but like still there must, in the light of day, I imagine she could just share so much in an unauthorized, uncensored capacity. But that's not who she is, and sadly we'll probably never get that. And I sort of get it, but I do wish that we heard just a few of them, because they probably like, if she wrote a book that was a relative tell-all, I bet it would be a fun read. I wish, maybe someday we'll get it. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, who would WWE would probably have to fund that endeavor, and I don't know if they would let her
No.
tell all.
I don't think they would like it at all. But maybe someday there'll be a fissure and a break, and we'll get to, we'll hear
Yeah.
about it. That would be great. That's the next time. Honestly, it's probably the next time we'll ever talk about Stephanie. And it's a time when I'd love to hear from Stephanie. So maybe we can cross our fingers. That's one of those, like, love to have wrestling books that maybe we'll get to read before we die. So
Well, fingers crossed. Until then, we have Stephanie's places.
we should do. Well, if you want to hear more Awesome Truth, you can find our archives at awesometruth.libsyn.com. If you want episodes old and new, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are delivered. We are there. Well, great to get Stephanie's places off our list. It's over, it's done, and now we're good. If you want to watch more, you're welcome to, but I think I will retire from the Stephanie's places business.
Yeah, I got the gist. Pretty much. She tells stories. She goes to places. She talks to wrestlers.
Well, hopefully you all got the gist as well. Thank you all so much for listening, and remember, the truth will set you free.